Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about TypeScript. I am in love. Maybe that's a little strong. I really like TypeScript. I don't really want to write JavaScript without TypeScript at this point. Um, maybe that's not a good thing. Um, anyway, I had a little bit of an aha moment yesterday because um, I've been thinking a little bit about functional programming. I've been reading a really good book by Kyle Simpson, Functional Light JavaScript. I'm not very far along, but I like the idea of being able to create functions that have a single principle. They have one job, and because they're simple and they do one single thing, I can then reuse them in my code and um, break my code down into lots of smaller parts, and then those functions can be reused. I really like the way Kyle explains it as Lego bricks, and like single functions can be Lego bricks if they have that single principle and they're super simple, and then I can put those Lego bricks together in different ways to do different things, and I can reach for different Lego bricks when I need to build something different. Um, and that means I'm not repeating myself. I'm creating functions that are reusable. This led to an aha moment for me because I've seen generics in TypeScript around, but didn't really understand. To be fair, I didn't put a lot of effort into trying to understand them, but I didn't understand them. And then I created a function which, or pulled some logic out of a function which I created, which just pushes a value to an array. So it's not very complicated. It's super simple example. Probably over simple. Anyway, that's a function I could possibly reuse in my code. I know there's multiple different situations. Here's the example just here. Um, there's multiple examples of where I might want to push to an array. Um, and so yeah, I could definitely see myself reusing this. Um, this function to chart data here um, takes takes a forecast object, which is just an object with um, some data in the form of numbers, and then it pushes one of the parameters from this forecast object into a number array. So um, I was originally just using this logic up here with a spread operator and the element I wanted to push into the array down here, and then I thought, okay, well, what happens if I pull that out into a separate function? Maybe I can use it somewhere else in my code, kind of just as an exercise um, in following some principles of functional programming. Anyway, so I ended up with pulling that logic out and putting it up here instead. And to type it, I needed to use generics. I guess I didn't have to use generics. I could have tailored it to this specific situation by saying that the array was going to be a number array and that the element was going to be a forecast object. However, I thought that it might be useful to try and make that function as generic as possible. At the end of the day, if I typed it as a number array and a forecast object, I couldn't actually reuse that push to array function, which then there would be no point in me breaking that logic out. So I did break it out, is the long and the short of it. And so here I am using a generic. So here's me defining that generic in front of these brackets here, in front of the arguments for the function, and then I'm going to reuse that generic in multiple other places here. So I'm going to say to TypeScript that the array I'm passing in is going to be an array of type T. The element I'm going to pass in is of type T, and the um, return, the function is going to return also an array of type t, because it's actually returning a copy. So the thing that's happening here is that when I call this function, TypeScript is looking at this and seeing that, okay, well, array is a number array, and the second parameter that I'm passing in here is actually a number as well, because it's there's a parameter that I'm passing in, which is weather param, which is temp, pressure, or humidity. So you can actually see on the forecast, you've got temp, pressure, humidity, and oh, those are numbers. So current.main weather param is actually of type number. So I'm passing in a number array and a number, which would correspond with, t array, which would be a number array, and the element is going to be of type number. That makes sense. It's going to process those things, and it's going to pass out a number array. The bonus of that is that now I have type safety. If I try and pass something else into here, like let's say I try and pass a string. Hold on a second. Whoa, what happened? What is going on right now? Something very weird. Just trying to type. Whoa. I hate my keyboard. I really hate my keyboard. Okay, there's something weird happening with my keyboard. Anyway, I was able to I was able to put this string in here, and you can actually see that TypeScript, the compiler, is telling me that I can't do that. It knows that generic t is supposed to be a number, and so it's telling me, no, you can't assign a string to where I'm expecting you to put a number. So it's giving me type safety in here by using those generics, which is awesome. So I guess I would also say, like, actually now I went back and I read this page in TypeScript on the TypeScript docs on generics, and it made a lot more sense to me, and it pretty much is exactly what I was just talking about, that we're trying to here in languages like C Sharp and Java. One of the main tools in the toolbox for creating reusable components is generics. That is, being able to create a component that can work over a variety of types rather than a single one. This allows users to consume these components and use their own types. So it's about that reusability, about reusing components and modules and functions, and that's why those generics are helpful. Gives me that type safety, but allows me to not use any. And in here it explains why any is not very good for this. And any will not. Any here and any here are different. So actually in this function here, I could actually, when I call this function and I pass in my parameters, I actually could pass in a string and return a number. I know this particular function is not doing that, but and that wouldn't cause the compiler to throw any errors, because it can be any value. Whereas if I use those generics, it's gonna, like over here, t is the same across that entire function declaration. So it's gonna check every single one of those values to make sure they are all the same and matching. So I think it's super. Yeah, that's all. That's the video for today. Thanks. Bye.